Oh my gosh, I'm live.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Divine Connections.
Yes, divine bad internet connection. I think we're live now. Yes. Still preparing, but well, since we're already live with Lauri, I just wanted to introduce. Of course, everybody knows Lauri Albert and myself, Theon. Paulina Filippelli, a lot of name. But tonight we have a special guest, and I'll wait a little bit because we're about to go live on mine.
All right.
You're not live yet. Okay.
Hi, Melinda. Thanks for being patient with us.
Yes.
So I have people here, and it's like, no. They get it. They get it because it's tech.
Yes, absolutely. And it seems as soon as we want to go live every time, my Zoom seems to want to update and things.
Oh, God. Right.
No worries. Yeah, so I'm just actually going to get the ball rolling here, and while we're live with Lauri's people, I'm going to introduce our first guest. Our first and only.
Our first.
And one of our favorite people. There's Mary Madsen Heskin. She is a dear friend of ours, also on Evolve Me, and wonderful. So welcome to Divine Connections for those who are joining us on the Evolve Me stream. And tonight, as I was saying, we have a special guest. So we have, Mary Heskin, and Mary bridges the Eastern and Western practices for supporting women along their journey of personal growth. A holistic therapist for over 25 years, she now blends her knowledge of psychology and skills with creating change with energy healing, including Reiki and ancient earth and nature-based practices, and intuitive guidance so her clients can heal from their past wounds, find wellness in their ideal mind, body, spirit balance, and gracefully transform into the best versions of themselves. What? Yay. I love that. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this. So welcome, Mary. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Wonderful.
We're super excited that you're here. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I know. I think we've been trying to get Mary for a while. we finally wrangled her because she's got an extremely busy schedule. Yeah. So, and then hi, Rachel. Rachel is on here. Rachel Russell there.
Oh, hi, Rachel.
I know. I've been telling her she's going to come on one of our group meetings. I think maybe Friday. So, yay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. And so, so many questions we want to ask you, Mary. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, how did you find Reiki, and actually for some people that may not know, what is Reiki?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, my bio is kind of funny because it is the progression of my life, and it is how I can provide services to other women, right? Because of my path, I'm able to, offer that gift as well to others. And so I got into Reiki. I always tell people it was accidental. And I know when it comes to like energy, metaphysical, spiritual stuff, people always say like, when the student is ready, the master appears, right? Mm-hmm. And I had never heard of it. I didn't know what it was. I thought, I was talking to somebody who was providing therapy for me, and he was going to give me a little bit of Reiki, and he didn't explain what it was. And I think if I would have heard it back then from him, I probably would have been like, I can't wrap my mind around it. And so what Reiki is, just kind of the basic explanation of it, or at least my explanation, is it's like acupuncture without the needles. So it's helping move the energy within the body. And, you know, I guess I didn't have really a concept of that we were energetic. Back then, I didn't even know that's a thing. I don't know. And, you know, it is, I mean, the way that I was trained in traditional Japanese style Reiki, and Reiki is a Japanese, it's two kanjis, but two symbols put together to create this this word. And people always say like it's a traditional, powerful but gentle healing technique, and I think it has its origin way before Dr. Asui rediscovered it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's very much, it's very similar to some of the trance work and the meditations that Tibetan monks do. You know, there is Sanskrit, you know, written language that are very similar to some of the concepts of Reiki. So I think it's very, very old. I think it was just rediscovered. And the exciting thing now is that was, you know, like 20 years ago that I was introduced to it. And I think that there's now also a new rediscovering of it. I feel like so many people are hearing about it and curious about it, just thinking about, you know, holistic or alternative ways to care for their mind, body, and spirit. And I think Reiki just encompasses that so well. So he had given me or provided a session for me. And I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. I walked out of his office and I'm like, the sky's so much bluer and I can see all the green in the trees. You know, I don't know what happened, but I just felt so light and so energized. And that feeling stayed with me for at least a week. At least a week, and then I wore back down. But, you know, it was nice to know that there was something that I could do. And I started going to him. We would do a little bit of talk therapy, and then we would do a little bit of Reiki. And eventually he was like, you know, I can train you. You can learn how to do Reiki, and you can give yourself Reiki. And I was like, what? You can do that too? I had no idea. So I was like, yeah, sign me up. So I had been doing self-Reiki for many years before I introduced it to my work with clients. And I saw benefit. It just helped me get back to my center. I felt very balanced. I was able to release things, whether it was on the mental or emotional, physical, spiritual plane. I was just able to let go of that. And I felt like if it was something that helped me, it probably would help other people. And now I see it all the time. So I'm like, okay, yeah. And so that's Reiki in a nutshell to me, is just helping move the energy within the body, whether there's a block, an imbalance, a depletion. It just supports the body, like I said, on all those different planes, mind, body, you know, spirit, and then I add emotional in there too. But, you know, just kind of helps support that. And I like it because it's something that I can do with my therapy clients that's not evasive, right? I don't even have to touch them. I can do hands-free. And so I think that's just fabulous. And it's just, we always talk about having tools in our tool belt. This is just one of my other tools in my tool belt.
Absolutely. And it's funny because, you know, obviously that changed your life for, you know, in so many ways, you know, just kind of wrapped your brain around spirituality in general, right?
You know, I feel like it was a reconnection to spirituality for me, because there was things that I thought that I knew when I was a kid that sort of got like the door was shut on that. And for me, this was just a way to reconnect things that maybe I knew to be true. It gave me an opportunity to say, wait, other people believe this as well. Or, you know, I'm not in the wrong to have this belief, or to put my, I don't know, faith, so to speak, in something that's not a traditional, you know, it's not a therapy, it's not a take a pill, you know, it was just something that I felt was a little different. And for me, Reiki did kind of open the doorway to exploring other aspects of metaphysics and spirituality, energy healing, obviously. And so I heard somebody say, I don't remember who said it, but they called Reiki is the gateway drug. Because so many people start with Reiki and then move on to other things.
That is so funny.
I just thought it was hysterical.
That is
Well, because you're
hilarious.
shifting energy. Think about that. You're shifting, you're learning to shift energy. And what does, what do psychics or intuitives do? They read energy. So, if everything is based on energy, Reiki just makes sense, right?
Yeah,
So, and that's,
absolutely.
yeah, I love that.
I love how
Okay,
open you
Yeah.
were when you started that. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what? I'm going to try that. I love that because so many people are so scared of this work.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes to you and says, well, this work kind of freaks me out. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, actually, I have a great story about that because when I told my parents, hey, I'm getting trained in this thing, my parents are devout Catholics, and or they were at the time that they were here with us, and my mom said, I don't know what the Catholic religion if they would approve of this, and
Yeah.
that was the first time I was like, wait,
Mhm.
what? And so I thought, okay, well, let's talk about this. And so we actually did a little bit of research online, and I think it was called the Catholic Digest. They had said it was okay. And so she was like, well, if they said it's okay, it's okay. And I thought, well, let's explore like why you wouldn't think it was okay. What was, scary about the concept, or, you felt like it would be blasphemous, I guess. I don't know. There's such a storytelling that goes on in the Bible about Jesus healing people, right, with touch. And she was kind of wondering, is this like basically sacrilegious if you're saying you can heal? And I said, well, I can't heal anyone, right? But I can help the body facilitate its own healing.
Mhm.
And that's the thing that I really try to explain to people. I'm really not doing anything. I'm a conduit for the energy. It's not my energy that's doing anything. It's the energy of Reiki that you're saying it's okay to allow that flow to happen for you. So, I think that sort of helps alleviate some people's concerns. Seeing that it became mainstream, I think, is also helping. When my mom was in hospice, we were going through the little booklet that came with like all the services that she can, receive. And one of them was Reiki. And I was like,
oh my
yes,
God.
I'm vindicated. Even your hospice team is aware of this.
Right.
And it was a really cool, just, how things kind of line up. My mom's hospice care worker was also a shamanic practitioner.
Oh,
And
awesome.
it was really amazing for him to be caring for her in such a way that I thought was perfect for her. But then that he was also open to me providing Reiki to my mom, and anytime that I was visiting. And then, during her transition, I was there when she passed. And so just, providing some Reiki for that. So I feel like when people hear more about it and hear different, maybe when people hear anything new, there's always some questions and concerns. But then when they hear the experiences or hear how other people have mentally navigated that, I think it's a little bit easier. And I always want to know, like, what are people's concerns, right? Because it may not be that my religion isn't sure about this. It might be something else.
Yeah.
And so, some people have maybe some big T or little t traumas in their past and are worried about laying down or having their eyes closed or feeling out of control or powerless, right? And so we really have that conversation about you're always in control of your body and your energy, and there's nothing that I can do that's going to, change that, right? You have that sovereignty. So, just hearing what other people's concerns are makes it a little bit easier to explain. And I think, even if you don't know anything, which I don't, about like quantum physics or about really, specifics about energy, you start to understand it, right? You start to get that piece of how it could be beneficial. And my example of like energetic body is when you're in the grocery store and you start to lean forward because somebody's right up behind you.
Yes.
You just entered your energetic field, right?
Yeah.
Or you're talking to somebody and you don't feel great about them or the conversation, and you naturally take a step back, right?
Yeah.
You're protecting your energy. And when people are like, that's energy? Yep, that's energy.
Right.
So I think it's demystifying it, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
no, absolutely. And especially that it's being recognized in, hospice care, and in all different. And I think I've even seen that as an option in hospitals, just regular hospitals.
Yes.
So that's, well, they're starting to catch up, so that's good.
They are, yeah.
And you know what?
And it's like the Mayo Clinic gave their like seal of
Oh,
approval.
wow.
Other hospitals were like, okay, we need to think about this.
Yeah. And did you know that Joan of Arc was an energy healer?
I did not know that.
I didn't. Well, tell us more there.
Well, that's pretty much all I know. That's all I know.
Oh, okay. No, but oh, go ahead.
We'll look it up.
Yeah, right.
No, but it makes sense. I mean, you think of, I think every culture has some form of medicine person or shaman, just all throughout history. Shamanism is is actually the oldest religion. And shamans, of course, are, their whole thing is about energy and shifting energy. And that's how they would heal. So it's like, it's funny how they call it like alternative medicine, even though it was right. It was before,
I know. I always laugh about that too. That is so silly to me.
Yeah. Isn't that the opposite? But it helped people for thousands and thousands of years. I know and some people are going to say, well, people didn't live as long. There's many other variables, like large animals attacking them and things like that.
Well, you know what too is that I think that the reason why and you're gonna laugh at what made me think this, right? But the show, I don't know if you've seen the show Outlander, right? Okay, so
yes, we've talked about Outlander.
Yes.
We both love Outlander.
Oh my God, right? But she goes back in time is the bottom line. But she's this healer, and she at one point gets herself into a little trouble because they were thinking she was a witch. So there you have it. So all those, that maybe 150 year span, they had to really be careful of that stuff. So they couldn't come forward and talk about how Reiki was cool and Reiki helped them. And they couldn't it just couldn't be a thing, but now we're starting to open up that door again. So I just love that. I love that I'm here now. You know what I mean? I love that I'm here now to be able to experience that. So
it's a huge relief, right? It's a huge relief that people are opening up to that, and that we can, instead of thinking of it as alternative, we think of it more as traditional, right? When I talk about like nature-based, it's more like the traditional practices and medicines, right? If you think about how people used and still use all around the world, different herbs and plants to heal, right? There's certain times I used to go to a lady that cut my hair, and she would say to me, like, this isn't a good time to get your hair colored or cut, just to let you know. And I'd be like, what? And so she was saying, like, her family did everything. They were farmers, and prior to that, they probably lived off the land as well, and she said, we all follow the moon cycles, and this is not, it was just kind of a passing comment, and I'm like, okay. But I think, there was a different understanding and a different connection to land and to plants and to how we move through life. And so I feel like it's sort of reawakening for people, or remembering or recalling, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's a good time to feel like it's accepted. And I find myself not having to explain what Reiki is or why I blend it into the work that I do. Which is sort of nice. People are like, oh, I've heard of that, or my sister goes and gets Reiki done, and it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a nice time.
And if anybody has any questions about Reiki, or they want they just need answers about it because you're considering it, please type it in the chat. We'd love to help you out with that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And Amy Barrington,
Hi,
one
Amy.
of our new practitioners in the evolving community. Hi, Amy. And she said, Reiki is amazing. Great explanation. So yes. Yeah, absolutely. And, and just interesting to me, like, so what can clients expect from like a Reiki session?
Yeah, so I don't know what they can expect with everybody, but I know what I've experienced and what I provide is this. So I'm really mindful about, like I said, sometimes people, because of their past experiences, might not feel comfortable laying down. I do have, it's a massage table that they call a Reiki table, but it's a massage table. And so clients can stay seated upright if they want. They can lay down. They are fully clothed, although I do ask them to take off their shoes because I don't want their shoes on my bed. But they, they just lay down. I put some relaxing music on. Usually there's a little bit of smoke, whether it's sage or sweetgrass or even Palo Santo, just something to start not only releasing anything that they've kind of picked up from the day, from the week, from the month, from the year, from the lifetime, but also as kind of a sort of a smoke signal, a messaging to their guides that we're asking for them to come in and to support them. So I do blend a little bit of shamanic practices into my Reiki with that. I have clients set an intention. An intention can be as simple as, I'm open to receiving Reiki. It doesn't have to be anything specific, right? Especially if somebody's never experienced it before and aren't really sure what to expect. Maybe that's it. But sometimes people are like, I want to release this relationship that's been really creating some problems with me, or I want to heal something that I've really been struggling with. Or, I've had surgery and I want to just boost my body's ability to heal. Whatever they want to set their intention on, I'm totally on board with that. And then I just help them kind of articulate, like, what is that? Why is that meaningful to you? And how can you focus on that just for a short time before we sort of release it and get into the Reiki? And so once that happens, I just have clients take a few breaths. It helps to ground us, get us back into the body. So if anyone's really nervous or having a lot of, thoughts, it helps just bring us back center. And then depending on the clients, some clients do not want me to say anything during Reiki, which is totally good. And some clients want to know, like, what are you experiencing? What are messages that are coming through? And so sometimes clients will be very quiet. Sometimes they'll want to tell me what they're experiencing. So again, it's kind of up to the individual. But basically, it's just I start at one end, kind of releasing things, letting things go. I come back, I help them ground. I help them release through any sort of grounding technique that they know. If they don't know one, then I teach them one. Release anything that they're hoping to let go of. And then sort of just fill and balance. I end with the chakras, which is not just, chakra work is not part of traditional Reiki, but it goes so well together that I incorporate that too. Yeah, and so everybody's a little bit different. So sometimes clients can feel just relaxed. Sometimes they can feel heavy. They can feel light. They can see colors or smell smells. They can hear things. They can feel sensations like tingly. I've had clients. It depends on. I always tell people it depends on how clients take in intuitive messages, because that's how they're going to receive that sensation. So if somebody's like, oh, sometimes I smell cigar and I know my grandpa's with me or whatever, right? They might smell something during Reiki. Or if they're really I don't know. So for me, I would say like clear cognizant. If they're really like things just download and they all of a sudden know things might come to them in that way. So everybody's a little bit different on how they pick up or perceive those sensations. But I've never had anyone not say, oh, I feel so relaxed. So for nothing else, clients will just feel so relaxed at the end, and they'll be like, I don't know if I felt anything. I don't know if, anything came in. And I'm like, it doesn't really matter. The fact that your body was able to get back to its state of rest is huge, because then they're going to release stress. They're going to boost their immune system. They're going to sleep better. So, I'm like, I don't care if you felt nothing. It doesn't really matter. It's still kind of like working its magic, whether you're aware of it or not. And for some of my clients who've had some serious trauma, they're so disconnected from their body that they don't feel anything, right? So it's okay. It's okay if you don't feel anything. That I always say, like, the energies, here's the crazy thing. If you know nothing about Reiki, this was one of the things that I couldn't wrap my mind around it. The energy has its own intelligence. It knows exactly where it needs to go. I don't have to guide it or direct it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, maybe sometimes I'm at the head and people be like, I feel it in my feet. And I'm like, well, that's energy. Can't explain that.
I'm just the conduit.
Yeah.
So I think for nothing else, people will experience relaxation. For people that do want to work on other things, there's always that door open as well. So
and I think people, you know, when you give them that expectation, it makes sense to them. You know, what I think is important is that they know that you know, that the energy is going to shift them in some way, and people typically assume that they're going to feel something. So you're not always going to feel something right off the bat, but you'll notice like subtle shifts in energy, or you're just like you were saying, sleep and things like that. So it's remarkable. And you know, I had never really experienced Reiki. You know, I mean, I do energy healing, but not specifically Reiki. And you know, I think it was you really that kind of opened me up to Reiki. I think you're the gateway, and you know, it's amazing how you know, and I've actually had a session with Mary, which everybody should do. Shameless plug.
Yeah, you can find her on evolveme.com. So there you go.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And but just you know, it's extremely powerful, and we did it remotely. I'm sure people ask you this question all the time. What's stronger? Is it stronger if you are do you feel it more when you're in person versus like, you know, virtual like we are right now?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So during COVID, obviously we all shut down, right? And prior to COVID, I only did a few distance Reiki sessions with clients. I did a lot of therapy sessions with clients distance, but I had never done Reiki. And I was even like, will this work? And it was funny that I was thinking that, because in my own practice, so I was working with a shamanic practitioner, and we would journey together online. You know, she lives in Virginia, and so we would be journeying together, or we would be she was doing energetic clearing or healing for me. And I'm like, wait, why, if I felt that, if it was just as powerful as if I was with her, why wouldn't Reiki be the same, right? And again, here's one of those quirky things about energy, is that it is not bound by time and space. Yeah. So for me, it's, clients don't always want to hear this. For me, it is actually more powerful when I do it distance, because I don't have to worry about, oh, I have to move my body. Oh, I have to not touch them. Oh, I have to do this, right? And, or what time is it? You know, I'm always checking for time too. I can just go into trance and just send and really connect to the energy. So I end up writing down just a ton of stuff that kind of comes through, messages for them, or just what I picked up with the energy. I think some clients are really comfortable with distance. They prefer it because they don't want me in their space per se, or they're you know, they're just more comfortable with that. Some clients really want me, you know, to work with them in person, and that's okay too. I feel the sensations just as much either way. I get a little bit more messages when I'm distance. I think some of my clients are like, I never want to see you again in person, which is fine. And then some of my clients are like, I have to meet you in your office. So it's really, again, personal preference, but it's funny that I was like leery about, will this be the same if it's distance? And it really is. It's one of those things, like, I can't get my thinking mind around that, right? It's just such a foreign concept. Because that is not what we were taught about energy. I mean, we were taught that we can't destroy it, right? We can just transform it. But the other stuff, like this is maybe, I don't know, maybe kids were paying attention more in science class than I was, but I don't remember learning this.
No. Oh, I'm sure they don't teach you that.
No,
but
absolutely.
yeah, you know, Yeah, I mean, at least I assume that too, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the same for intuitive readings too. People always think that they have to be right in front of you, and for me, it's all just the same. Sometimes even just like you're saying, body language, things like that can really shift a reading.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
sometimes it is even better to be, sort of distanced from the other person. So
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing.
I feel the same way. I do. I'm the same way. And as a matter of fact, once COVID hit, I started doing online stuff, readings, and then I won't do in-person readings anymore.
Yeah,
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, no, I'll be honest, I actually prefer them because
Yeah.
it gives, I always feel that my clients will relax more too,
Mhm.
because they're not sitting in front of me and they're not nervous
Yeah.
about whatever's going on, just like I'm sure Reiki.
Yeah.
And again, it's all energy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's interesting. But you still get those people that are like, really, how's this going to work online? I'm like, same way. It's not like
yeah.
I'm going to be touching you
Yeah.
during a reading,
Yeah.
or anything like
But
that.
people that are in the 3D world that haven't sort of looked up yet to the 3D, right? They don't quite get it. And it's our job as the light workers to teach them, I think,
Absolutely.
do you find, so Mary, do you find that you have that, like, most of your clients are people that are new to the whole thing about energy healing, or are there people that have had some experience with it?
I would probably say 75% or 80 are brand new. They've never
Really?
had any experience. Yeah.
Oh, I love hearing that. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I feel like it eases them into more possibilities and opportunities, So I think it's again a gateway. No, but I think it's nice. Most of my people come to me because of either the counseling, my counseling background, and wanting to just talk. And it's interesting because when people see on my website that I list that as one of the services I provide, I love this. They think she must be a little bit more open-minded. And so a lot of times clients will come see me because they have other issues that they just don't feel comfortable sharing, or they've had a bad experience with therapy in the past.
Yeah.
And they feel like because she's thinking this way, right, she's probably open to other things. And honestly, in 25 years, I've never had somebody like really say something that was like, oh my gosh, I can never work with you again, right? That's never happened ever. But I think that, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if it did, then that's on them, not you. I mean, they will learn real quickly, I think. That's just my opinion.
Well, and I have a feeling that people that have stories like that probably wouldn't be seeking out therapy or, any sort of holistic healing, right? Any energy work, they probably wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say a crazy chunk of people have either never experienced it or never even heard of it. And so it's sort of fun because then, I mean, I can explain what other services might be of benefit for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so cool thing, I'm going to shamelessly plug Evolve Me, but the cool thing is then I know somebody, you want a reading? I know somebody that does that. Or you want to look into your Akashic records? I know somebody who does that, right?
Yeah.
There's always that opportunity. You want to explore more with tarot? Okay, I know somebody that does that. And so I think it gives them just that safe place to explore and not feel judged or criticized and not be embarrassed that they don't know. Because I've had some clients go to like local yoga studios that they sort of were shamed for not knowing like specific poses or not knowing the background. And I'm like, this is craziness. Yeah. So I feel like it's nice that they can come and we can kind of talk about it. And they know that I'm a student forever, right? I'm a forever student. And so I'm always like, and I'm taking this, and it gets them excited about like, okay, there's room to keep exploring. There's room to keep growing. So yeah, the majority, no experience.
So I have
And I love
Oh.
that. Oh, go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and that's what makes the best teachers are the ones that are still students and know, just like you're a conduit of energy, you're a conduit for that, for their, or to facilitate their learning. So that's why I think that teachers like that, the ones that are not necessarily on that pedestal or that that guru, are the ones that are the most effective teachers, because you can relate. We're not perfect and we're always growing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we're always growing. We're just here to tell you what we know and help you to grow, whether it is. And it's funny because I always have this conversation. So when people are like, well, energy healing or intuitive abilities are against religion. But didn't Jesus say, "Thou shalt do as I do, and thou shalt do better than I do"? So Jesus was one of those teachers that didn't put himself on a pedestal. So whether you believe in that or not, but that's just what was in the Bible.
Yeah.
But that's from my Catholic upbringing. That's what I took out of it. But anyway, so, but yeah, sorry there, Lauri. Lauri had a question.
No, this whole conversation is so fascinating because I love the way, Mary, that you sort of are incorporating, well, and like it said, like your bio says, and like Theon said, it's like you're doing Eastern and Western medicine together.
Yes.
And that is really, like, that's pretty incredible. And I noticed that in your bio, you call yourself a holistic therapist. So what exactly is a holistic therapist? I'm so, and I feel like that really, like, if I was somebody that wasn't into this at all, that would empower me to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I would totally go to the
Yeah.
therapist that does
Right.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Send
what
your
exactly?
friends.
Yeah. So what exactly is a holistic therapist? I love the name.
Yeah. So I will just go back. When I was working for not-for-profits, I worked for not-for-profits for about 12 years. And then I opened my private practice in 2013. 2013, yeah. Yes, so 98 to 2010, I was in not-for-profits. And one of my, I was a program director at the time, and we all worked in substance abuse. I was a program director for an intensive outpatient program, and the program directors would all meet together once a month with our supervisor. And one of my close friends from that agency, I saw her doing something like this under the table.
Oh,
and I was like,
she was tapping. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm tapping. Don't you tap? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So she was like, you gotta go get trained. Here's the guy, go see him. And if I thought Reiki was crazy, if I didn't think Reiki was crazy, tapping I thought was insane. But it was so fabulous. We started integrating it. She and I, we couldn't bring it to the agency work, but she and I would like tap with each other. We would work on things and release them. Yeah. And I was like, well, how would you describe this? And she said, well, we're working with the mind, body, spirit, right? We're working holistically. And I was like, yes, that is the thing. Because I think oftentimes in therapy, and this is my struggle with the clinical piece of the work that I do, you have to diagnose somebody. You have to give them a clinical disorder. Basically, you have to have medical necessity of why they are appropriate for treatment or counseling, right? And you can't just say, I feel sad, or it's been a tough year, right? Like, I have to prove to the insurance company that like you really need this. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we miss so much, and we're really looking at people from a deficit standpoint as opposed to like strength-based. And over the years, thank goodness, positive psychology has been ushered in and strength-based therapies have been ushered in. You know, tapping is something that people are incorporating. EMDR is absolutely huge.
What's EMDR?
So it's eye movement, rapid.
Oh.
Movement, rapid desensitization. Wow,
Okay.
I can't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're basically stimulating different parts of the brain, and you're talking about sort of like the traumatic stuff that has happened. But the therapist is helping you to sort of stay grounded, stay present, and sort of dissipate any of the stress that's coming into the body because of that traumatic, memory. And the cool thing is the body. I mean, this part's not cool. the body, the mind doesn't know if you're thinking about it or if you're experiencing it in the present. So,
oh my God,
thinking about it, the mind's like, "Oh, we're here again," right? And that's why PTSD is such a struggle. As soon as our body gets activated, the mind goes to that fight, flight, or freeze or fawn, right? And so this EMDR is a really cool way of like bypassing that and helping settle. And then obviously EMDR certified therapists also do, I'm not one, but they do a ton of work with, they call it resourcing, where they give people strategies and tools before they even get to that point, which I think is so awesome.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because we are slowly getting there, but I feel like there's still so much work to do within the field of therapy to be holistic. I don't think a lot of people want to be holistic. Coming from, so substance abuse and mental health sometimes are very separate. Makes no sense. But when I worked in substance abuse, we always looked at the mind, body, and spirit for clients. We always wanted to make sure that they had some sort of spiritual belief. It didn't matter what it was. It didn't have to be God. It could be anything, nature, womanhood. It doesn't matter what it is, just something bigger than ourselves. Because when we start to have that connection that there's something bigger than ourselves, it sort of takes a little bit of the pressure off that we don't have to know it all. We don't have to figure it all out all by ourselves. Yeah. And it also sort of signals to us that somebody has our back.
Yeah.
And when people struggle and when people, really feel either depressed or anxious, they feel so alone and isolated. And to not have that support of saying, I believe that something is here to guide me, right? There's some lessons in my struggles was really challenging, I think. And for what mental health, I don't know why they weren't doing that back then, but substance abuse had already been doing that. We want to make sure that we're treating everything. So holistic came from that experience with that therapist when we were talking about what are you doing? What is this? And so it sort of evolved from there. So I just want to sort of put that flag out there that I'm not just going to be diagnosing you, right? I'm not just going to be billing for insurance.
Right.
I want to make sure that we're working with you holistically.
And there's a whole market for that because you're doing both. Absolutely. There's a huge, because I'm a believer, just because I do this work doesn't mean that I don't believe in, Western, or I don't know which is which is Western or Eastern. I don't know. Yeah. I believe in it.
Unfortunately, insurance disagrees.
Yeah.
Right. Well, insurance disagrees about everything.
Yeah.
So let's just be clear here.
Oh, trust me on that. I know that. It's so stupid.
I need to get my medication. Well, you have to go through so many channels, and that's the problem with not to get into like healthcare today, but it's sometimes it's difficult to want to really research issues or health concerns because you're waiting to get approved, and all of these things have to kind of come in line, which I think having that holistic option can be helpful for people. And I'm not saying that should be the only source of your healthcare, but there are so many benefits to what we're talking about, like Reiki and like how many people do acupuncture. I mean, things like that, and it really does work. There are benefits to it, and yes, maybe long-term some medications may be needed, but try everything. It's your body. You only have it one time. So,
thank God for that.
right? I know. I'm ready for a new one.
I know.
This is getting old. But Reiki. So just like give us an idea of the range of things people come in for. I mean, do they come in? I'm sure mental health, physical health, but are there any other specific things that people will come in for Reiki sessions, or maybe some interesting ones that people would never really think of?
Yeah, for Reiki, let's see. Lots of trying to make sense of what am I doing here? Like, what is my purpose? I don't feel like I fit. I don't feel like I fit in my body sometimes. I get a lot of people that just want to relax. They don't know how to relax, and they can't get the relief that they're hoping from going to just, massage every couple weeks or whatever it might be. There's definitely, when people are starting to think about moving into more of spiritual work for themselves for personal growth, this is a really nice conduit for that. It's a nice stepping stone for people to start learning how to integrate the information that they're receiving. So a lot of my clients, I talk to them about mindfulness and meditation. And I tell them, we're basically doing both of those things during Reiki, right? So when people want to incorporate a new, whether it is mindfulness or meditation, a new practice, that's something that people come, physical pain, illness, emotional stuff. Sometimes people, clients, and I'm sure everybody knows somebody like this. If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all, right? And so she had come to see me because she was like, oh my God, all these things keep happening to me one after the other. And it was funny because as she was telling me about the things that she was experiencing, I'm like, oh, that's the solar plexus. Oh, that's your root. Oh, that's your this, right? And so I was like, we need to do a little bit of untangling of whatever is happening within those chakras, and Reiki is kind of the way that we can do that. So people will come for all sorts. And again, it's sort of that like mental, emotional, physical, or spiritual reason. I had a huge, well, I shouldn't say huge. I had a handful. It felt huge at the time. Somebody had kind of, I don't know, word of mouth. I know 5 people, not huge, but I was working with adolescents that were on the autism spectrum. So, parents were feeling frustrated with the teachers or with the doctors, and the kid was feeling frustrated because, they just didn't know what was happening within the body, and they couldn't always control it, or they didn't feel like they could control it. If they were having emotional outbursts at home or school. So one of my clients, I was seeing the mom, and she was like, do you think it would help with, this? And I said, sure, bring him on in. So her son was a little bit older. He's older adolescent, probably about 18, 19. And he was having trouble sleeping. He had this crazy cycle of insomnia, and he would come in for Reiki and he would just sleep the rest of the night. And so we were shifting his body and just releasing that tension, right? And then I had another client that was having outbursts at school. And so she wanted to just, we were kind of incorporating mindfulness and meditation into the Reiki with him. And, it's almost like giving the parents tools as well, because they would hear me talking to their son or their daughter. And that would kind of like, oh, light bulbs, maybe I should do that, or try this, or this makes sense. And so that was a really neat thing that I didn't even know was going to be a thing until it started. And then we had COVID, and then I didn't say anything, but I didn't see anyone in person for a while. And teens are really hard on the computer. So it's usually the adults that are fine. So that was an interesting one that I would have never thought, but I'm like, this makes a ton of sense. Yeah.
It's so interesting because I really feel like it's when you said, it had like a run, it's almost like spirit gives you all the same stuff for like a period of time. Like when people come to me, because I do empowerment coaching, which is like life coaching, but I also do mediumship readings, and inevitably the mediumship readings, like all the moms will come through for like 2 weeks. it's all about moms.
Awesome.
And then two weeks later, it's all about the dads or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And it's like so funny to me. So it's so interesting how, I don't know.
How it all comes together.
Yeah. And I just get so amazed at how spirit works. You know, spirit just works through us in such an amazing way, you know, and we are so freaking lucky because we are like, I mean, look at us. We're having such a blast having this conversation, you know?
Well, and the cool thing, and I have to tell like all my clients this, like we're all healers. We can all tap into all of the psychic abilities, right?
Yeah.
We all have that ability. Sometimes we need a little bit more training, sometimes we need a little bit more information, sometimes we need a little bit more practice, but we all have that ability. And I think when people hear that, it's sort of like, what? Like I can do that too, right?
Yes, and you know, it's so fun. I get that constantly. Actually, you know, I do intuitive development, so I'm always getting, no, there's no way. And I'm like, this is who we are. We're actually born with these abilities, and you know, people tend to think that because some of us, and I know we've all been, you know. We're open to our gifts early on in life, and you know, but some people just are just not born open. That doesn't mean that they're any less you know, intuitive than we are. It just means that we just happen to be open. And you know, and so my favorite thing to do is I love to take somebody that you remember Joanna, right? The one that the self-described non-spiritualist. Well, I've been side training her and having her do all of these like these things, and she's like really blossomed with, like, you know, I'll give her a picture. I'm like, okay, tell me this, and you know, I can't really discuss what that was,
but of course.
But she gets it, and so like I do it for my husband. I mean, it's an interesting thing when people know that they can also heal or also tap in intuitively. It's just amazing to me. Do you teach a lot of your clients? And so you do classes. I already know. I'm just kind of asking.
That's okay.
Yeah, so you teach classes on Reiki and things like that. I
do, yeah. So I do all 3 levels. So I break it up into level 1, level 2, and then master level 3. And sometimes, so I haven't done any. Yeah, I have. I guess I did do somebody during COVID. So I just got a physical office again. I'm still. I might need to talk to you and Julie Starr about my building.
Oh boy!
Come on the show. Yes.
But you know, it's so funny. The more you teach, it's like anything, right? The more you teach it, the more you understand it, and like the more you're like, people will say stuff, clients will say stuff to me, and I'm like, I never thought about it that way, or like, oh, that's a really interesting observation, you know. So I feel like I'm teaching them, but then like obviously I receive back also. I love it. I really I did not want to go to that level 3 master for a while. It took me a couple of years, several years actually, because you know, my Reiki master was like, you have to have a commitment to bringing it to other people. You have to be open to teaching. It's then your responsibility. You're not just a practitioner, but you know, you have to kind of walk your talk, and you have to bring it to others. And I was like, oh, that sounds terrible.
Oh my God. You're probably such a great teacher. I can't believe I'm hearing you say that. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's definitely a while ago, right? A long time ago.
Yeah. So finally, all of a sudden, I was like, I think I kind of want to teach. And he was like, yeah, you probably need to be. So I did go and I finished that, and I do enjoy teaching. And it's interesting because a lot of times the people that want to come in and learn it, usually it's just for them, right? They just want this gift for themselves. I just want to understand my body better. I just want to have that connection to intuition, or I just want to be able to release things, you know, or one of my clients uses it just for stress management, which I absolutely love. And, we were talking, Lauri and I were talking beforehand about like having morning and nighttime rituals to sort of bookend your day and your night. And so one of my clients, she just uses it to like end her day and release everything and begin her day to start fresh. And I'm like, I love that. So I haven't taught probably in a year because I didn't have consistent space. But yeah, so it's always interesting. And I was going to say about people coming in for any sort of service, whether it's again intuitive guidance or mediumship or whatever people are coming to receive. Oftentimes they negate and doubt themselves that they are able to connect. That they're able to receive those things, either because of messages that they received growing up or in their early adulthood, sort of closes the door. I know that happened to me in my life. But then also, if they're in relationships or families that have dysfunction, their opinion, their feelings, their thoughts get negated. And so they're not really sure, like, is this my intuition or is this not? And people recognize fear, obviously, but sometimes they confuse that with intuition. And so I feel like part of the work that I do is, talking to clients about, like, how do we tap into that? And I think I fell into that boat like 20 years ago of like, intuition is going to be like a lightning bolt, or it's going to be a giant sign with like flashing lights. This is it, right?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. It doesn't come that way.
No.
And you're going to see full body apparitions.
Right.
Constantly.
That was what I thought it was. I thought I wasn't a medium because I'd never seen a full body. Like, how silly is that? But then you learn.
You know what though? I mean, well, I actually started out seeing that. I was really young, and that was when I was completely open. And then when I came back to it, I was like, I don't see anything like that. And am I still? Did I lose it? But no, it is we see on TV that so every time they're because they have to do it for I guess cinematic effect that the spirit is standing right in front of them. They're having this full conversation with this spirit, but it's just not how it works. You can see them. It's not going to be a frequent thing. And I know you see them too, Lauri, but often the messages are because it's almost like having to translate within a dark tunnel. So you can't really, sometimes you'll get bits, or sometimes you'll see visuals, and so it's almost like just having a really spotty connection, sometimes. But people always, I think that's what it is. A lot of people don't want to come to, to that knowing that they have this because you're right, they have some programming around it, but then two, there's the idea of what it should be, and it's different for everybody. That's why they have all the clairs, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because people tap in differently. Everybody, just like you were saying, your sense, smelling things, tasting things, some weird things I've had on it. Only a couple occasions in my life have I tasted something that really was like, it was a message.
Really?
And,
my God, cool.
That's like rare. That's very rare. And of course we've all had scents and things like that. But, most people, I know some people that are not visual at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is that possible? You can imagine, but there are truly people that don't actually see visuals, and they're amazing intuitives and psychic readers. And, so it doesn't have to look any way. However you feel comfortable with tapping in, to spirit, to energy, is all on your own, you know, should be, whatever it looks like for you. So
that's beautifully said. Absolutely beautifully said,
Thank you.
Because
it's fun. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just because I agree with you, it all just because you're not like, I have what I consider to be kind of an interesting relationship with my spirit guides, but not everybody does. For the longest time, I knew I had spirit guides, but I didn't have a relationship at all with them. And then all of a sudden it morphed into this relationship that I have going on now. You know what I mean? So we're all, we the reason why I'm joking about that is because I argue with my spirit guides.
Same. I knew you were gonna say yeah. Or or I'm like you're talking to them constantly throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and I'll be like, stop it! I'm not blah blah blah.
like, come on,
Right.
yeah. You're right. When something happens, I'm like, I just asked you, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually, my mentor that I had early on, she didn't even know the names or anything about her spirit guides. She just knew they were there. And you don't have to know them personally, like by name and things like that to know that they're working with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Lauri, it just happens to have a very quirky relationship. No, so do I. But yeah.
And I love that because I'm probably one of those people that I'm like, I don't know who my guides are by name, right? Obviously, maybe ancestors, maybe a couple. But it's interesting when I'm inviting in. So I invite in my guides. So yes, whether people know it or not, they all have spirit guides. They actually all have Reiki guides, right? We all have some connection to ancestors, whether we knew them or not, right? And then sometimes there's ascended masters that come for a specific reason. Maybe it's, it's their shtick. They can help with that, and I always invite in, I know a lot of people have connections to archangels, but I invite in the goddesses as well. And it's interesting because when I invite them in, I can feel that it's not just me, right? I feel like there's others with me. I don't know how to explain that. And when I invite in clients, I always tell them, even if you don't know that you have these, whatever, guides or guardians, whatever we want to call them, you have them. And I always ask for their permission as well. And I feel when it's time, I feel like it's not like a click, but I feel like, okay, we're all here and we're all ready to do work, right? And the client's like, I don't know. And I'm like, but I'm telling you they are, right? And sometimes I'll feel like, oh, you have somebody with you that has a message for you, and I don't know what the message is, but someone's here for you. Or, sometimes I will get names, or not usually names that they know, but that's okay. And there's only been a couple times that I've been like blown away with the shamanic work that I was doing. Animals will come in. So they also have animal allies. So I invite in my animal allies. If I know that they're open to that, I'll invite in theirs. But I was blown away. I had panther come in for a client. I had vulture come in for a client. I've had dog spirit. I've had all sorts of animals come in. And I'm always amazed. Obviously, I'm amazed every time. There's no Reiki session that's exactly alike. For
totally
me or
get
the other
that
person, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm always amazed at like who's going to come in, and I don't know. I can't tell you who it is. It's not like, oh, that's Uncle Fred, But I can say somebody is here. Like I can sense that. I know that something is shifted with the energy. Yeah. And so I think it's really interesting. A lot of times people feel very lonely and forgotten about, right? Yeah. And so to hear that, like, no, in fact, you do have an entire team. Yeah. Like they just want to support you and love you. Like
Oh, absolutely. And I was just going to say, I know some people, I think they have this thing. Well, I haven't really talked to them, so why would they even be here for me?
Right.
Things like that.
Right? Yeah, I get that asked that a lot, actually.
Yeah, right. And then, but it doesn't work like that. This is what they signed up for, knowing that either you will never wake up in this life, but they're still here to help you. They don't, they're not asking for anything. Like, I think because of the way that we see relationships here in the physical world, that where we sometimes need to be beholden to people that help us or something like that, that they don't understand the dynamic of it. And just as we're talking today, it is important to let people know that, your guides are always around you, regardless of whether you acknowledge them or not, or regardless of whether you know their name, because that's their job. That's what they came here to do, to help you in that way. So, what a beautiful thing. And whether you know what they, like Mary, you're saying, whether who their guides are, you know that they're around them. So that should be acknowledgement enough.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
So you can you can go and onto, oh my God, I can't.
I know.
Right?
It's
It's
a great conversation.
She's sorry. You can go onto evolveme.com and look Mary up. If anybody is interested, check her out on evolveme.com. And she is extraordinary, you guys. Her name is her full name is Mary Madsen Heskin. See, I did that right.
You did. Yes. Yes, I'm one of the multi-namers.
That's great.
Somebody else here.
No, I don't know who you're talking about.
I need another name. Oh,
I know. Get some extra names.
That was so Madsen's my maiden name.
Yeah.
And when I got married, I'm like, yeah, I'm always going to be Madsen.
Oh, so, see, I couldn't wait to get rid of mine. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I'm sorry, but I couldn't wait to get rid of mine.
I had to. I have a very strong female line, and if I gave up that name, I would have been outcast. No.
God.
We're very much. We all have. Actually, one of my sister's husbands took her name.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and believe me, I would not want, especially because my married name is like spelling Mississippi.
Right.
So,
right.
It's crazy, and I already have a strange first name, so it's like I have to have a whole conversation about the whole thing. So,
I love it. That's great.
I think Mary Madskin.
Oh my God.
It's
Mary
a tough one. Yep. There's somebody
very. Yeah, but I love that. You know, I love your name. I can actually say it. Just kidding. No, but no, seriously, Mary, you have to come on again, and we have to do like a practice where we can do maybe some sort of Reiki practice or something like that.
Ooh,
yeah. Right? Yeah. I know.
Ooh,
yeah. We just wanted to talk to you because we had a wonderful conversation earlier today, and I will say it just gave me a newfound love for you, and it just. And that's the beautiful thing about this community is that we genuinely like each other,
mm-hmm.
and there's really and there's
Yeah.
really no it's not about competition. We all may do similar things to each other, but it's so different. It's just like everything else. We're all like snowflakes. We're all different and made differently, and that's why for us, the perpetual learners, the perpetual students, it is so much fun because I love, I love what you're doing for people, especially the mental health community. It's just amazing. And I'm just fascinated on, what you're doing with children with autism. It's like I could talk to you for hours, and I know we only had an hour, but it's just incredible. Yeah. So I thank you so much for the work that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming today.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
We've been trying to wrangle her in. I don't know why this means wrangle, but that's what it means.
No, thank you for having me. If anybody is ever wondering about the Evolve Me community, it's community, right? Yeah. It's all about collaboration and support. And I think everybody has just so much excitement for like, ooh, what do you do? And what do I do? And what are you learning, right? Like everyone just gets so excited about that. And that's what you want from a community, right? You want support, but then you also just want that fabulous energy. If anybody's interested and you're not really sure still, like, what is this Reiki thing? I can do a free consultation. That's on there as well. If you go to the calendar and you're like, oh, I'm not finding any days or times that work, just shoot me an email and we can figure that out. It's not that challenging for me. Some technology challenging. That one I can figure out.
Yes, and I definitely as someone that actually has received Reiki from Mary, I will say it's extremely powerful, and I don't know, I felt it so powerfully in my heart center, and just incredible. So definitely look up Mary, and get a session, get a consultation, because it is definitely full mind, body, and spirit healing. So,
and you guys see how amazing she is, and how gentle Mary is, and how, like, I just really get this sense of compassion coming from you. And I just think that is such an important component. There are a lot of, I'm not kidding when I say this, there are a lot of practitioners out there that truly don't necessarily have compassion. They just want to do what they do. And I need
ego.
Yes, and I need somebody with compassion. So that's why I think I like you so much, because
it's somebody, right? And somebody that you can really relate to.
Yeah.
That is the most important. Somebody that feels like me, but can do Reiki.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that, and you truly give that to your clients, and we're just so thankful that you can come on and.
Guys.
Absolutely.
And we will have you on again. Yay.
I know. Okay. And you better put us on your show, because you should have a show too.
Yeah, I definitely will do that.
Let's there you go. See, now we've roped you in to coming back on and doing and then having your own show. So yay.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. We figured out your life for you.
I know.
Perfect. We got that works for me.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Mary. And we'll definitely have Mary back on, and we're going to do some fun things with her on the next time. And so definitely check out Mary on evolveme.com. Or you had another, your site, right?
Yeah. So my practice is Rivers Journey Wellness. It's again a lot of words. I can't do anything succinctly. Lots of words. Yeah, Rivers Journey Wellness is my practice, but you can find me on Evolve Me. It's probably easier.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, and thank you everyone for joining us and hearing about Mary and listening to us gab. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and we're going to be back
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, and hopefully we'll have a wonderful guest. So definitely check out our social media for our updates on the promos. So thank you all for coming.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.